Hello friends, this video on relations and functions part 1 is brought to you by examfear.com. No more fear from exams. Topics to be covered. Relation and functions. In relation and functions, we will cover relation and function overview, Cartesian product of sets, relations in terms of product of sets, function in terms of product of sets, functions in terms of relations, real and real valued functions, graphs, algebra of functions, relation. What is relation? Relation is a connection between or among things. For example, when I say relation between father, mother and child, there is a relation. Relation between husband and wife, there is a relation. Also, note that every relation has a pattern and every relation involves minimum two identity. Let me explain things once again. When I say that father and mother, there is a relation between father and mother. If I include a child also, there is a relation between father, mother and child. There is a relation between father and child, mother and child, father and child. Similarly, when you say husband and wife, there is a relationship. We know that husband and wife behaves in a different way. There is a relationship between husband and wife. When I say student and teacher, here also there is a relationship. There is a relationship between student and teacher. And that relationship is that teacher teaches the student. Father and mother takes care of child. Similarly, husband and wife, they together build their family. Let me reiterate what I have said. Relation is nothing but a connection between or among things. When it is two objects, when we say between. When it is more than two objects, we say among. For example, father, mother and child. So it is a relationship among three people. When I say husband and wife, we say it's a relationship between husband and wife. And we need to note that every relation has a pattern or property. Husband and wife has a pattern. Student and teacher has a pattern. Similarly, father, mother and child has a pattern. Also, for a relation to exist, it should have minimum two identity. I can't say husband has a relation. When I say only husband, it doesn't make sense. To say that husband has a relation, I should say husband relationship with wife or with kid. You need to have minimum two identity for a relation to exist. This is the basic idea of relation. We will explore more in the future chapters. Now let's see what does relation mean in mathematical world. There are some examples of relation in mathematical world. If we say number p is greater than q, if you say number p is greater than q, is an example of relationship. Why? Because they are more than one identity, p and q, and there is a pattern. The pattern is all the number in p is greater than q. For example, 4 is greater than 5. So p is part of 5 is greater than 4. So we'll say p is part of 5 and q is part of 4. Similarly, when we say line m is perpendicular to line n, this is line n and this is line m. So there are two lines, they are perpendicular. Here also we see there are two identities involved, that is line m and line n, and there is a property. The property is that both the lines are perpendicular. So this is also an example of relation. When we say A is a subset of B, this is a A set and this is a bigger set B. So when we say A is a subset of B, here also we see there are two elements involved, A and B, and there is a pattern. The pattern is that A is a subset of B. One more example. In a right triangle, we have P, B and H, and this is a right triangle. So we say, according to Pythagoras theorem, that P square plus B square is equal to H square, as mentioned here. So this is also a relationship between P, B and H. It involves P, B and H, three identity, and there is a pattern that P square plus B square is equal to H. So these are some examples of the relation. So what is function? Function is nothing but a set of action or activity. Let me repeat. Function is a set of action or activity. We'll take one example. Let's suppose police is a function. So here let's create police as a function. To this police, when I pass criminal as an input, what it does? It sends the criminal to jail. The same police, if I pass good citizen as input, what it does? It sends that person to home. So you see, the same police is behaving differently depending on the person it is in. When criminal comes to police catch the criminal and send to jail. When a good citizen comes to police, it sends the good citizen to home. So police is nothing but a set of action. So for example, when police finds the criminal, it will catch the criminal, it will put some entry in the police registry and then put the person in the jail. So it is performing some action and the output is jail. Similarly, let's take one more example which is relevant to you guys because you are not interacting with police much. So let's suppose we have a teacher. Teacher is a function. So in the exam, if you give good answer or if you give correct answer, the teacher gives you good score. Correct? Good score, A+. But when you give an incorrect answer, the same teacher gives you bad score. Correct? Teacher is also a function here. So depending on the input, this is all left side is input and right side is the output. Depending on the input you are giving, whether you are giving correct answer, you are giving incorrect answer, the teacher is giving you good score and bad score. Similarly, in case of police, depending on whether police is getting a criminal or citizen, police is behaving in different way. This is a very basic overview of function. Function is nothing but a set of action to be performed. We can consider function as a box and then we can give an input, get the output. Let's take example of a repetitive function where input from one function goes to another function. So here let's take one more function called parents. P-A-R-E-N-T-S. So you gave a correct answer to the teacher. Teacher gave you a good score. You gave a good score to parents. You showed that you got a good score. You got blessings. And you get gifts from parents. Correct? You gave a bad answer or incorrect answer to the teacher. Teacher gave you bad score. You showed the bad score to your parents. What you got from parents? Scolding. Correct? So this is an example of where input from one function is going to another function. So in this case, we say police, teacher, parents are all acting as a function. Let's see function in mathematics world. Example, we have fx is equal to x square. So let's assume this is a function. I'll create a bigger one. And this function is fx is equal to x square. So whatever input you give, it squares. Example 1, if you give 1 as input, what you get is 1 square. That is 1. When you give 2 as input, you get 2 square. That is 4. When you give 3 as input to this function, you get 3 square. That is 9. When you give 4 as input to this function, what you get? 4 square, 16. When you give 5 as input to this function, you get 5 square, that is 25. Similarly, if you give negative number, for example, you give minus 3. So minus 3 whole square is 9. This is a function which squares the input. This is input and this is output. So if you give minus 2 as input, you get minus 2 square is equal to 4. So this is a typical example of function in mathematics world. Whatever input you give, it squares the input and gives you output. Let's discuss what is real and real valued function. Real value function is a function for which range is real number. That is, the output is real. The output is real. The input may not be real. The input is not real actually. So it is real valued function. Real valued function. And when you say real function, in that case, both input and output is real. That is, both range and domain are real number. Example of real function: fx is equal to x to the power 4. You say, you give a real input here 1, you get 4 output, 1 output. You give 2 input here, 2 to the power 4, 2, 4, 8, 16, 16 as the output. This is example of a real function where input is real and output is real. For real valid function, the input is not real. It is non-real.
Thank you. Visit examfear.com to watch free educational videos, try free online test, get the best quality study material, study from the best tutor and mentors, and much more. Thanks once again.